This is Chapter 10, Congress, discussion number 3, the Senate is a continuous body. In the Senate, each state has only 2 senators, and they serve for 6-year terms. Now, when the first Senate met, they realized that they weren't supposed to all disappear at the same time. And so they actually drew straws of which senators' positions would be open in 2 years, and then which ones would be open in 4 years, and then which ones would be open in 6 years. And then they've kept that staggered formation of members of the Senate since since then. Now, what this means is that only 1/3 of the Senate is elected every 2 years. So there's always going to be some senators who are up for election or re-election, and then there's going to be other members of the Senate who are in the middle of their term. If you look at the chart on slide 8, I have an example for you here to kind of help you understand a little bit of what's going on. Now, one thing that that's very ingrained into the American mind is that on the multiples of 4, we have a presidential election. But remember that when we have a presidential election, say in 2008, that term doesn't actually start until 2009. So the red, white, and blue terms are the ones that represent that is the beginning of that's the presidential elections. And that's going to be significant when we talk about off-year elections. So what we see that in 2008, John Kerry was elected to office as a senator of Massachusetts. Now, John Kerry was later nominated to replace Hillary Clinton to serve as the Secretary of State of the United States. So he could not stay in Congress in order to fulfill that executive branch duty. Now, the governor of Massachusetts has the power to either appoint someone to serve out a term from someone who's missing from Congress. For example, someone might die, someone might resign for whatever reason. Here, John Kerry resigned, and the governor of Massachusetts said, "We'll have a special election for someone to take John Kerry's place." No problem. See that John Kerry's term started in 2009. That term is going to be over at the end of 2014, going into 2015, and they will have another elect. When that person got appointed, that person did not get 6-year term for themselves. They simply finished the term that John Kerry was elected to, and then there's going to be another election. Now, the two members of the Senate that I have above John Kerry, those are actually the senators from Pennsylvania. And we see that Pat Toomey was elected in 2010, started his term in 2011. That will go through 2016, and he is going to be running for re-election in 2016. Bob Casey was elected during the 2012 election cycle, so his term goes from 2013 to the end of 2018, and then he'll be up for re-election. And so we see if you draw a line anywhere down that 3-person chart, there's always going to be at least 2 people in the Senate. And that's why the Senate is considered to be a continuous body. There's always going to be current members. Now, the Senate used to be chosen by the state legislatures, and so the people who were elected to the state congresses, the ones who made the laws for the states, would then select people to go to Washington. The 17th Amendment changed the senator selection process away from the state legislatures and into popular election. That was in 1913. Now, 6-year terms are intended for senators to be more responsible, more deliberative as they make their decisions of what should become a law and what should not become a law, to serve as a check against the impulsiveness of the larger House of Representatives. Consider this, the House of Representatives, they get elected for 2 years. They only have 2 years to get everything done that they might want to get done. And so there's going to be ideas flying all over the place. But the Senate's supposed to essentially make people stop, think, and figure out, is this something we really ought to do? George Washington once said that the Senate was to serve as the saucer for the hot tea that someone might want to drink, to cool it down so that cooler heads would prevail, essentially. Now, you want to be a senator, you have to be 30 years of age, have to be a citizen of the United States for 9 years, and again, you do have to be an inhabitant of the state from which you were elected. One thing I hope you noticed about both the House and the Senate is that you are not required to be born a citizen of the United States. So you can be a naturalized citizen, been born in a different country to parents from another country, and not started out as an American citizen and still qualify to be in the House or the Senate. This concludes discussion number 3. The Senate is a continuous body as a part of Chapter 10, Congress.